Good afternoon. This is Sean McKean, and this is the DU Weekly Roundup. Sports journalist Katie Strand visited campus late last week to speak in a series of talks and meetings with students and faculty. Strand has been writing for The Athletic since 2017, when she joined as one of the paper's first 30 staff members. She specializes in investigating issues surrounding sexual abuse in sports, and initially gained prominence for her coverage of the Larry Nassar case at Michigan State University. Katie shared her own stories and experience one-on-one with media student Ember Duke in an episode for the Ethically Speaking podcast. Now over to Caitlin for Arts and Entertainment.
Thank you, Sean. Pittsburgh's annual Pet Expo came to town last weekend as owners flocked to the David Lawrence Convention Center. Over 250 vendors were present over the 3-day weekend, which also featured attractions like turtle racing and national dachshund racing. Animal lovers came out in record-breaking parks, with over 16,000 attendees visiting the expo. Pittsburgh was definitely in for a treat as guests found new foods and friends for their pets and themselves. If the sounds of chirps and barks is anything to go by, the expo was a rousing success again this year. Now over to Matthew for sports.
Thank you, Caitlin. This past week in Duquesne sports, both the men and women's basketball team kicked off their season. The men battled to the last seconds against Cleveland State in a 2-point victory at home. The atmosphere was electric as star guards Day-Day Grant and Trey Clark led the team in points. On the other end, the women's team fell to Princeton on the road after leading much of the game. The Dukes took a 52-49 lead into the final 10 minutes, but outscored 16-5 in the fourth quarter, leading to the 8-point loss. They head back on the road on Saturday to take on Niagara University. In other sporting events, the cross-country team swept the Red Flash Rally hosted by St. Francis University. The women had 5 runners finish in the top 11 of the 24-runner field, with junior Mara Wallen winning the women's 4K. In other sporting news, upcoming matches for the Dukes include the NCAA Mid-Atlantic Regional Championship in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania for the cross-country teams. The Duquesne University volleyball team will host Davidson this weekend to wrap up the final regular season spot and secure a spot in the Atlantic 10 Championship tournament while also celebrating their senior day. The Duquesne University men's basketball team travels to Annapolis, Maryland to take on the College of Charleston tonight in a 6 o'clock tip-off at the U.S. Naval Academy in the first game of the 2023 Veterans Classic. To end the weekend in sports, the football team wraps up its home schedule on Saturday, hosting Stonehill for Senior Day. The Dukes are 5-0 in conference play and are looking to clinch the NEC title, which would secure an automatic bid to the NCAA FCS playoffs. Now back to you, Sean.
Thank you, Matt. Last Sunday, Duquesne students and faculty attended University of Pittsburgh's 3rd annual Believe Survivors March. They gathered in support of those experiencing or recovering from sexual violence and were joined by community members from Carlow University, Carnegie Mellon, Chatham, and University of Pittsburgh. Attendees heard a variety of speeches as well, including one given by Nicole Molinaro, the president and CEO of the Women's Center and Shelter of Greater Pittsburgh. The march then continued toward the Cathedral of Learning and finally stopped at the William Pitt Union Patio. The event hoped to spread awareness for victims of sexual violence and encourage members of the community to believe survivors. Ryan Sabelik, Duquesne's Title IX Sexual Misconduct Prevention and Response Assistant, also spoke and urged those who think they need help to reach out to their Title IX office, reassuring those in attendance that the staff is there to help.
We believe you! We see you! We hear you! We believe you!
Many students from Duquesne, Pittsburgh, Carlow, and Chatham took to the streets on Sunday afternoon for a Believe Survivors March.
And a couple of the peer educators really wanted to do a march, but they didn't want to do kind of the traditional take back the night type of march. They wanted to do something that was, energizing and that raised awareness, but also was just a good point of camaraderie.
Before the start of the march, many gathered at Carlow University to hear detailed and prior experiences of people who have gone through sexual abuse and to promote the importance of believing survivors of these past traumatic experiences.
I'm really just trying to promote the fact that we all need to believe survivors, and we all need to make active efforts both as individuals as well as a community to make sure that survivors of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual violence, rape, etc. are all believed.
With their passion high and the streets closed, the people made sure to let the city of Pittsburgh hear their voice.
My first year here, I was part of the Project Safe organization on campus, but the past few years I've just been here in support. It's something that I've always supported. It started in high school, just talking with my friends and realizing that this was a much bigger issue. I had no idea, but when my friends started coming to me about it, I realized it was a huge issue and that the support of men matters.
From the DU Weekly Roundup, I'm Nicholas Fernbaugh.
Thank you for tuning into this week's Duke Weekly Roundup, and see you next week.